Welcome into Reiter's Block from Los Angeles, California. I'm Bill Reiter, and we got a great show for you. Ed Oliver, the defensive tackle out of Houston's going to be on the show. Marquise Brown, the receiver out of Oklahoma. And we got to talk about Damian Lillard's all-time buzzer beater, maybe an all-time performance in the postseason for a non-finals game. All of it. We're into it. We got a great show. Starts right now. Damian freaking Lillard. We talked on the show earlier this week or last week about how he's the most underappreciated superstar in the NBA. Man, did he slam home that point with an exclamation point last night. Let's just revisit for a moment. 50 points. It's pretty good. 6 assists, 7 rebounds, keeping his team on his back in the first half. Oh yeah, and a 37-foot dagger buzzer beater to draw the curtain on Oklahoma City, or I should say close the curtain on Oklahoma City's season. Russell Westbrook has the MVP and the stats. He had a triple-double last night that turned out to be meaningless. We'll get to that in a minute. Paul George is a superstar and has been recognized as such. Great player. But Damian Lillard, we've said this on the show, best player on the floor in that series, night in, night out. And whoever wins the Denver-San Antonio series, in that series, night in, night out, Damian Lillard going to be the best player on the floor. There's a lot of examples from last night's game about what Dame is about, how he marshals a team, not just with his play, but the way they feed off of him. But let's just go back. Let's revisit. Here it is again, the game winner, game tied, and Lillard, the 37-footer in Paul George's face, and they just both turn and go. Lillard waves goodbye. Paul George turns and just goes away, along with his Oklahoma City season. You see the celebration. You see the surety. You see the greatness of Damian Lillard. The dude is such a stud. I was sitting on my couch last night watching it, and I screamed so loud. I scared the hell out of my wife, who was sitting next to me, accustomed to me getting excited in sporting events. And when Terry Stotts came on in the postgame, the coach of the Blazers, he absolutely was saying the words that I was thinking in my brain.
Damian's performance was probably the best performance I've seen in person. Off the top of my head, I can't think of, I've seen 50-point games, obviously, but the way he carried the team in the first half was CJ in foul trouble. The magnitude of the last shot, obviously, to win a series. The fact he's now won 2 series on a single shot.
I mean, I'm with Stotts. Probably some LeBron performances that I've been to in the finals against the Warriors. Better performances, but they lost most of those games, as great as LeBron was. I was at Kobe's finale where he scored 60, but he took whatever it was, 59 shots. It's one of the most impressive games I've ever seen from a player in the history of the NBA. And let's put it in some context. 37-footer, buzzer beater, Paul George in your face, alone to advance in a series is an impressive thing, but the context is important. Oklahoma City had that game. They should have been going back to Oklahoma City with a chance to send it to a Game 7 where anything can happen. They were up 15 at the Moda Center with 7:45 left, and that is when Portland took over, stormed back, took advantage of some mistakes by Oklahoma City, and still you had to have Lillard to close it before overtime, which killed me and other people who wanted Portland minus the 4 to win the game. And I understand the frustration. You saw it on the faces if you watched the game of every player. The heartbreak, the shock, the bewilderment. Paul George just turned and went to the locker room. But PG, man, you can't come to the podium after that kind of a moment in your face, in my opinion, and say this.
I mean, that's a bad shot. Care what anybody says, that's a bad shot. But, hey, he made it. That story won't be told, that it was a bad shot.
It's not. And I know Paul a little bit. Paul, it's not a bad shot. A, Damian Lillard has the second best range in the NBA, probably outside of Steph Curry. And B, this wasn't just some fluke moment. Lillard felt like he could hit it because he had worked on it before.
I was standing there looking at the rim, and I was like, this is a comfortable range. my trainer, Phil Beckner, we was working out the other night in OKC, and he was just like, just take a few deep ones, off the dribble. Let's shoot a few deep ones. And he was like, I'm telling you, you're going to hit one of these. He just kept saying, you're going to hit one of these. And when I was standing there, I was like, I'm going to shoot it. He was a little bit off of me, and I was like, it's enough space for me to just raise up and shoot it for game.
I mean, no celebration, just calm, hit it, knew he was going to hit it. Paul George should know better. We know better here on the show. Damian Lillard hits those shots, and we've said this on the program. He's one of the clutchest players in the NBA. He just hasn't gotten the credit for it in the past because they've run into the Warriors several times the last few years in the first and second round of the playoffs, and they play on the West Coast in Portland, smaller market, and the time zone, a lot of folks out east, a lot of you out east, not watching those regular season games. But that was a legit shot by a legit player in one of the most difficult moments in sports. The clock ticking down to overtime and a chance to just end that thing. So for Portland, what's next is the momentum and the belief that they have that a lot of us didn't give them the credit for. I didn't. I was wrong here on this show. I recognized Damian was the best player on the floor, and I still thought Oklahoma City would win the series. Shame on me. I'm not going to pretend that I think the Trailblazers can make an NBA Finals this year. I don't. I think the Warriors are a class and a cut above everybody else. But whether it's Denver, who's up in that series, or San Antonio, that Portland faces in the next round, they can win that series because they have Damian Lillard. He's absolutely that good. As for Oklahoma City, you saw Damian waving goodbye, not just to their season, but maybe the notion that the three guys that they've built around, first and foremost Russell Westbrook, certainly Paul George and Steven Adams as a third part, and a lesser part of that trio, are capable of winning a series in the postseason and being successful. They're not. Sam Presti, the GM in Oklahoma City, has got to rethink his plan there. I know this sounds crazy, but you got to make phone calls if you're Presti about trading one or two of those guys. And Steven Adams not going to be the big difference maker in moving him. I'm building around Paul George. I'm at least making phone calls about trading Russell Westbrook to see what I can get back in return. I know it sounds crazy, but sometimes you got to be bold when things aren't working. Consider this. Russell Westbrook, since Kevin Durant left, has had 4 playoff wins. Not 4 series. He hasn't won a series in the postseason without KD. Just 4 wins. Last night, these are the real stats. Don't look at the triple-double. Come on. 11 for 31, wildly inefficient Westbrook. 2 of 7, out of control. And when Russ plays at 100 miles per hour, and as Charles Barkley said last night, he always does, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But his team starts to play at that same pace, and it does not work. Paul George misses the free throws, some turnovers, some missed bunnies, some missed layups. That's an Oklahoma City team that's not built to win because they don't have the right guy. Russell Westbrook, really great with stats, not with the postseason. Damian Lillard, not as shiny and sexy from the outside, but that guy's a winner. It's why you got to, and I got to start betting on Portland. Though, to be fair, Oklahoma City covered last night only because Lillard hit that shot. If Lillard misses it, it goes to overtime. The momentum kind of feels like Portland wins by certainly 4, which was the line, to say nothing of 6, 7, 8, or 9. What a game. All hail Damian Lillard. We've got a couple names for you from the NFL draft that I mentioned. Guys who are going to be drafted early. Certainly Ed Oliver out of Houston. You're going to hear his name called early tomorrow at the NFL draft. Could be as high as 3 according to some reports. Going to visit with Ed here in just a minute on Reiter's Block when we come back to Los Angeles, California in a few moments. All right, welcome into Los Angeles. We're back into Los Angeles, California, and Reiter's Block tomorrow when the NFL draft gets underway. A name you could hear called very, very early is Ed Oliver out of Houston, the defensive tackle. And thanks to our friends at Braun, he's graciously making some time for us. Ed, what an exciting time. Thank you for being here. How's the process been treating you so far?
Man, I'm telling you, it's been a roller coaster, ups and downs. I just had to stay level-headed the whole time. Yes, sir.
What's been the most surprising part of the process these last few months?
Probably the most surprising part would be how much time you consume by just training and and how much time you thought you had that you actually don't have.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know you can't tell us if you know the answer where you're going, but at this stage of the process, 28 hours out, do you feel like you have a sense of where you're going to be ending up, or is it still sort of a mystery to you?
Nah, I mean, it's still a mystery. Anything can happen tomorrow. as far as trades and things like that. But I can't wait to finally get drafted by my team. It's been a long process. I've been training since December to March 28th, and then on the first, I started traveling around the team. So it's just been a heck of a long process.
You know, you're a competitive guy. Everybody that's going to be called on that stage over the course of the draft weekend, let alone tomorrow in that first round, are competitive people. Aaron Donald, I think, pretty universally considered the best football player in the National Football League. He's certainly on a lot of people's lists. Do you like the comparisons to Aaron Donald, or does the competitor in you prefer not to be compared to anybody, even at the next level, even at that level?
The competitor in me has to be silenced at this moment right now because he led the platform for guys my size. We about the same size, about the same quickness, things like that. So the competitor in me has to be quiet and just take it right now. But ultimately, when I get in the league, I want to be competing with him, not just being compared to him.
Whether it's moving to the 3 technique or whatever the adjustments are at the next level, what are the things you've been working on to just prepare when all this process is over and you get back to football, but now as a National Football League player?
As far as like football, or
yeah, just for like, what have you been working on? What's your training been focused on to make sure you've made the adjustments or enhance whatever skills you want to be the best player you can be?
well, I always go back to my game and my technique. So basically, just hands. I'm gonna be playing a different position, a position where you get a lot more one-on-one blocks. It's not so much as clogged up in there. You get a little bit better rush. So obviously, rushing the passer gets you paid in the National Football League. So I've been trying to get my hands up to par so I can go in and dominate as soon as I get there.
You're a Texas guy, born in Texas, raised in Texas, high school football in Texas, played college football in Texas, but obviously you're going to get drafted by a possible multitude of teams. Both of the New York teams, Ed, have top 6 picks in this draft. A report out today that the Jets really like you. Just in general terms, how much time have you spent personally in New York City?
I've been in New York City twice, and both of them was to go see teams. So I haven't spent any time at all. 2 great organizations I went to go visit, 2 great clubs. I haven't spent much time at all. It's totally different to me as far as time change and them being on a coast, and I'm used to being in the middle of the nation. So it's different.
You know, we always talk in this game about guys can be an injury away from having their career change, their life change. For you, when that knee injury first happened, was there a moment of trepidation or fear about what it meant? Just walk us through, for a guy with a lot of upside, a lot of promise, the next level, what it was like having to deal with that injury.
When it first happened, it was just shocking to me, like, because the play was dirty and I knew the play was dirty, so it was just shocking to me. The way it was carried out was just shocking to me. And then after that, when you're not able to play with your teammates, it went from being shocking to realization that I can't play, so it's depressing. So just fighting through the whole injury and everything like that, it was a long process, but I'm glad I got to play one last game with my guys because that'll probably haunt me forever.
Yeah, no doubt. And obviously, as you go through the process, there are interviews at the Combine. There are interviews with teams, in your case, at the top of the draft, who potentially are targeting you. And as we understand it, people just get a ton of questions. What's the most interesting or the most bizarre interview question you've been asked by an NFL team so far through this process?
That's crazy that you asked that because I haven't really been asked any questions that was just outrageous. All of them has been fairly decent questions. Nothing that just out the ordinary, a wild question.
I'm sure one thing that did come up was at the bowl game, the whole jacket thing with Coach and his reaction, your reaction. What was your explanation and just explaining that, pretty passionate moment, obviously caught on camera?
Well, it was just at its simplest form. It was a misunderstanding that was hashed out the next day. What comes out in the media and me and Applewhite's real relationship is 2 totally different things. like I say, I don't think teams would draft me if they thought I was a high hitter or anything like that. And Applewhite to tell you that incident doesn't attest to his character or my character.
There's a lot of good, I mean, there's a lot of great players, a lot of good defensive players, edge rushers, interior linemen in this draft. What has been your argument? I know it's always awkward in any job interview, ones I've had, ones that you're having now, but when you're talking to teams, or just as we talked to here on the show, what is your argument that Ed Oliver's the guy that teams looking for a defensive stud need to turn to in this draft?
Well, some people say I'm short. I say I play with great leverage. I play with great speed. I play with a high motor. I'm violent. I'm small, but I'm explosive as all get out. So I could just bring one guy penetration to a team, and I can really reset the line of scrimmage to get after the quarterback.
All right, so you're working with Braun to make sure NFL rookies can highlight their signature facial look. And Ed, I don't know if you can see me, but I need to be working on that myself here. This little beard thing needs a lot more style. If you can tell if you can see me. What are you doing with Braun?
Braun got me right. You see my waves popping. They got my beard right. They got numerous different products to get the guys right. Whether you're clean shaven or you have a beard, they got all kind of stuff to get you right.
All right, I love it. Last question for you, and just an early congratulations on wherever you land tomorrow. Your name's going to be called early. It's a huge moment in your life. You've worked hard for it. It's cool. It's exciting just to watch as a sports fan. When it's all said and done, when you know where you're going, when you get that first NFL check, do you have any of that money earmarked for anything special?
Probably I'd say probably a truck, but that's not anything just major. I'm not a guy who has to drive around in a Ferrari or a Lambo. Just give me a good truck and I'm good.
Hey, man, it's the simple things in life that make life good. Ed Oliver, thank you for making time. Thank you to Braun for making you available. We appreciate them. We appreciate you, man. Good luck tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Nice dude. That the New York Daily News today with a report out that the Jets absolutely love Ed Oliver. I think one of the scouts called him an alien in terms of just his physicality and what they feel like he can do. Really, really special player. It's exciting, right? All these guys, your teams, my team, my Bears, where a guy's going to go, and just these interesting young dudes, these young men about to find out to which corner on the map they're going to be living their lives and pursuing their dreams. The NFL draft is wild. And we've got another big name for you. We'll go from Ed Oliver, who's going to go early in the first round, to a guy, Marquise Brown, who might go in the first round. The receiver, who is a really interesting dude. I caught up with him earlier. I think you'll enjoy that conversation as well when we come back to Reiter's Block here on CBS Sports HQ. All right, welcome back into the show. Earlier, had the chance to catch up with Marquise Brown, the very talented wide receiver out of Oklahoma, Antonio Brown's cousin. There's a chance he could go in the first round. He certainly, along with DK Metcalf, who we talked to yesterday, could be the top wide receiver taken in the draft. Really nice dude, really talented dude. I enjoyed the conversation. I think you will too. Here it is. Marquise, thanks for making time. Thanks to Old Spice for making you available. How's your couple day? You're getting there. How you feeling in the lead up to the big moment?
Feeling good, like you said, thanks to Old Spice for having me. They've been doing great, getting me, ready, getting me fresh for the draft. Got that moisturizer shea butter, so, it got me keeping me clean. You can pick it up at Target.
Love that, man. My wife picked some up at Target the other day, and I used it this morning. I knew we were talking, and it's working for me. So you're Hollywood. Your nickname's Hollywood. A lot of people are from Hollywood, Florida. Is the nickname about where you're from? Is it about something more? Give us the origin story there.
It's just basically about, where I'm from, and got it from Gus Johnson. We talk on the phone. He's just someone I look up to, and Hollywood is like, I'm just a symbol for my community. And, it's a lot of people that live through me, and I'm just trying to make everybody proud.
Yeah, I love your story. I love your journey. No Division I scholarship coming out of high school. You move from Florida to where I'm at, basically Los Angeles. You have to work at Six Flags Magic Mountains, right, in order to pay for that because no scholarships at community college. And here you are getting ready to hear your name called probably very early in this draft and begin hopefully a very successful NFL career. How did you get here?
Man, just credit to God first and foremost, but just hard work, determination, just never giving up. I had a good support system. My mom was always pushing me, and just I'm just credit to everybody that was a part of my journey.
I've never been to Magic Mountain, but I've driven by it many times with my kids screaming out the window that they want to go there. Was there a point when you were working there, a point at all in your journey where you started to have doubts about your football career and how it was going to end?
Probably before I got there. But once I was there, and once because my first semester there, a lot of college coaches came to watch guys that were already there, and I kind of came out of nowhere and caught the eye. So I knew that once I got on the field, I was going to get an opportunity to showcase what I could do.
I love it. I mean, it's the American dream, and it's really cool. And obviously, and I'm sure you've been asked about this a lot this week, you've got a cousin who knows a thing or two about the NFL, about playing wide receiver in the National Football League. Any advice, Marquise, from Antonio Brown on just how to go about this process and try to make the most of it?
Yeah, he's just told me, it goes by very fast. So just try to enjoy everything. And that's what I'm doing. I'm enjoying, all these, meeting all these players, meeting all these coaches, all these companies, just enjoying it, soaking it all in, man.
All right, so I know that you will be happy wherever you go, whatever team drafts you. But your cousin, right, he's been around for a while. He's earned the right to be boisterous and candid when he wants to be. Has he talked to you at all about, what it might be like if both of the Brown cousins were doing their thing for the Raiders?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it when he was at the Steelers, just having an opportunity to play with each other. That'd be crazy. A lot of fun, a lot of competition. That'd be crazy if that happens.
We've talked to a few guys this week about this fact. It's a very long process getting ready for the NFL draft. You're in training the entire time. You're talking to media folks like me, which we really appreciate. You're working with Old Spice. You're doing interviews. You're going to the combine. You've got pro days. I've heard it feels like a never-ending whirl of things to do. For you, what has been the most surprising part of this process?
I mean, I feel like my process is different from everybody because of my injury. So for me, this process it's been about just getting healthy and getting right. So I haven't time. This hasn't really hit me yet, I would per se. It hasn't really hit me. But, it's just been a fun process. I say that, and I've just been enjoying it.
You're projected to go pretty high, but the injury you referenced, I'm sure it's been a concern for some GMs. What has the message been as you talk with folks who might draft you, just about how you're feeling physically?
That was early on. It probably was a concern, but since then, I met with all the team doctors. They know, I'm good. I'm going to be back to full health, and it's just been about taking the right steps, doing the right things, and they just making sure, I don't come back too early, and I'm just taking my time.
Marquise, I'm probably twice as old as you because I'm an old man, and I'm still uncomfortable in job interviews having to sell myself, but obviously that's part of the process. What has been your pitch? What has been your perspective about why you should be the top wide receiver taken in the 2019 NFL draft?
Lucky for me, I haven't really had to sell myself, but I had to just reaffirm, that everything they were saying was correct about me. Teams, they've been telling me, how I can come help their offense, and I'm just, reaffirming them like, yeah, I can, I can bring this to your offense. I can, bring this explosiveness, this will to win, a guy that's going to come to work every day.
So we've been doing interviews with guys like yourself for a few years now, working with Old Spice, a lot of guys who've been drafted pretty high in the draft. And we've gotten different answers over the years in terms of some guys are sleeping like babies in the days leading up to the draft. Some guys can't sleep at all. What's for you, what are those moments like when you're by yourself and your brain starts to rest and you start to take it all in?
When I'm resting, I'm probably sleeping. Yeah, I'm by myself. I'm playing video games. I'm still, it's still a normal life. Like after you get drafted, like you're on the NFL team. This is real. You got no time to, saying, "Oh, I made it" or something like that. So you just, you here now. You're basically an NFL player. You just a free agent right now. So I'm just living my life. How I've been living.
Mine wasn't very interesting. The first thing I bought when I got a job was a cell phone, because as I mentioned, I'm an old man. What's the first thing you want to buy yourself or someone else when you know where you're going and that first NFL check rolls in?
For sure, my mom. My mom, a house, and take care of her.
I love that. That's awesome. All right, one last question for you. Gotta ask. We got Marquise. It's a rule. We gotta ask one hard question on the interview. Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray, both of those guys are amazing at what they do. But if you could pick one guy throwing the football to you, at least at the college level, who would you point toward?
I don't know, man. I can't. I didn't tell the other teams. It's hard to choose. They're both great quarterbacks. I got to play with Baker my first year, so I wish I was able to play with him. Another year. But they're both great quarterbacks. I love both those guys.
Obviously, Baker already successful. Sounds like teams have asked you a little bit. What do you think? What do you think the ceiling is for Kyler at the NFL level?
I think Kyler can be as good as he want to be, and I feel like he's gonna change the game, and I feel he should be the number 1 overall pick for sure. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does.
Marquise, it's really great talking to you. Your story is really cool, from Hollywood, Florida, to out here in Los Angeles at a community college and working at Six Flags, to Oklahoma, and soon to an NFL team somewhere in this country. Congratulations. Enjoy the ride, and we'll be rooting for you. Thanks to you, and thanks to Old Spice for making some time for us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, nice dude. Appreciate the time. Very cool of him. Before we sign off, it is time for Bill's Big Bet of the Night. He's going to say Bill's Big Bet of the Day. See, I'm so excited to tell you, 2-2 last night. Really wanted Lillard to miss that shot so that Portland could have covered in overtime. But what are you going to do? Hate both the games today. I'm just not going Warriors minus 14.5. So I'm going to break my own rule. 10-7 though, so I got a little bit of a cushion. And I'm gonna bet Houston minus 8.5, hosting the Jazz. Should close out the series. Houston is a great three-point shooting team. You know this. The Jazz can't defend the three. I gotta be honest, I kind of hate it, but I need some action. So I'm going Rockets minus 8.5. Come on. I hate betting on James Harden. Come on, James Harden. Don't go 11 of 30. All right, thank you for being on the show. We appreciate you. Tomorrow's show, we have Josh Allen, we have Nick Bosa, 2 great guests just hours before the NFL draft gets underway here, 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 Pacific tomorrow on Writer's Block. The guys are taking over in Fort Lauderdale. Sports Line in 30 minutes. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you here tomorrow.